Welcome to the channel that specializes in taking things you thought you knew and revealing the truly terrifying list of facts hiding underneath. Today, we delve into the dark, disturbing history lurking behind the songs we sing to babies. You know, the rhymes that sound harmless until you realize they're covering up everything from mass executions to political coups. And probably a few instances of cannibalism if we dig deep enough. These are the chilling stories behind 8 of the most innocent-sounding nursery rhymes. 1. Ring Around the Rosie. We start with the big one, the horror story everyone knows, but somehow still sings in the kindergarten circle. Ring Around the Rosie. The historical consensus is grimly effective. This isn't a cheerful game. It's a detailed field report from the Black Death. The Rosie referred to the rash, a red circular marking that was often the first sign of the disease. A pocket full of posies? That was literally how people tried to mask the atrocious stench of the dead and dying. They stuffed sweet-smelling herbs into their pockets. And the ending? Ashes, ashes, we all fall down. That's the plague victim collapsing, followed by the mass cremations. Congratulations, you just taught your child a cheerful ditty about 14th century biological warfare. 2. London Bridge is falling down. This one gets sinister fast. While the superficial story is about structural decay, bridges often failed in Old England, the truly disturbing theory suggests the refrain relates to a very old, very dark form of foundation repair known as immurement. Immurement is the practice of bricking up a person inside a structure. Legend holds that to ensure the bridge would never truly fall, it had to be protected by a guardian spirit. And the only way to get a guardian spirit was to sacrifice a human being, often a child, and bury them alive within the foundations or the bridge's pillars. So when the rhyme asks, how shall we build it up again? The historical answer might be, with the bones of the innocent. Makes build it up with silver and gold sound like a serious budgetary compromise, doesn't it? 3. Mary, Mary, quite contrary. Speaking of compromises, let's talk about Queen Mary I, a monarch so deeply devoted to her faith she earned the iconic nickname, Bloody Mary. The seemingly sweet rhyme about a garden is actually a scathing political critique aimed at the Catholic Queen. Mary, Mary, quite contrary. How does your garden grow? The garden wasn't about horticulture. It was a reference to graveyards. The silver bells and cockle shells weren't decorations, but torture instruments used during the interrogation and execution of Protestants. The silver bells were thumbscrews, and the cockle shells were often iron instruments of genital torture. And the pretty maids all in a row? Those weren't lady gardeners. Those were rows of executed women, lined up for the executioner's block or the stake. You know, the normal stuff monarchs do when they're having a bad quarter. 4. Rockabye Baby. Most people assume this is just a gentle lullaby about a precarious cradle, but many historians point to 17th century political satire aimed at the British royal family. The baby is often identified as the son of King James II, known as James Francis Edward Stuart. His existence was complicated by religious and political controversy, including widespread doubt about whether he was truly the Queen's own biological child, suggesting a political scandal was about to drop. The cradle on the treetop wasn't a relaxing place. It was the highest, most unstable branch of the English family tree. When the wind blows, the political systems start to shake. When the bough breaks, guess what happens to the crown? The king, the child, and the whole Stuart dynasty come tumbling down. It's hard to sleep when your lullaby predicts regime change. 5. Jack and Jill. Well, if you thought Jack and Jill were just clumsy children failing at fetching water, you haven't accounted for the French Revolution. This rhyme is a dark-coded commentary on the beheading of royalty in 1793. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. This represents Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette ascending to the high point of the revolution. The guillotine. Jack fell down and broke his crown. That's King Louis, who was executed first. His crown was broken both literally and figuratively. And Jill came tumbling after. That's Marie Antoinette, executed shortly thereafter. Note that in the original French version, Jill doesn't merely tumble, she loses her head as well. It's a beautifully subtle piece of historical reporting proving that even in times of terror, you can still find time to write a catchy chorus. 6. 3 Blind Mice. Welcome back to Bloody Mary's murderous garden party. If the mice are blind, It's because they're Protestants, meaning they couldn't see the light of the Catholic faith as dictated by Queen Mary I. The crucial line is where a farmer's wife cuts off their tails with a carving knife. The farmer's wife is Queen Mary herself, and those tails weren't just appendages. This is a very literal reference to the horrific persecution and burning of three prominent Protestant bishops, Hugh Latimer, Nicholas Ridley, and Thomas Cranmer. Cutting off their tails was essentially removing their power and influence through execution as they refused to renounce their faith. The rhyme became a coded song of defiance among persecuted Protestants. 7. Humpty Dumpty. Before he was a fragile egg on a wall, Humpty Dumpty was a 17th century weapon of war during the English Civil War. Specifically, Humpty was slang for a large, powerful cannon used by the Royalist forces in Colchester in 1648. This massive cannon was mounted on the side of a church tower atop a fragile defensive wall. The parliamentarians, seeing the threat, fired heavily on the wall until Humpty Dumpty, the cannon itself, tumbled to the ground. Naturally, all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put the massive iron artillery piece back onto the wall. A children's rhyme about an egg? No. A bleak report on military disaster? Absolutely. 8. Georgie Porgy. Our final entry is the story of a man who loved to kiss the girls and make them cry, though the historical figure was more interested in kissing the boys. Georgie Porgy, pudding and pie, kissed the girls and made them cry. This is generally believed to be about George Villiers, the first Duke of Buckingham, a notorious womanizer and favorite of King James I. Villiers was known for his incredible arrogance and his political power, which allowed him to seduce and abandon women across the length of the court. The pudding and pie reference is often considered a commentary on his extravagance and gluttony. When the boys came out to play, Georgie Porgy reportedly ran away. This wasn't because he feared a fistfight. It suggests he was running from the jealous husbands or brothers of the women he'd seduced, or perhaps a political rivalry that had finally caught up to him. It's just a cute song about a playboy aristocrat who deserved a swift kick, or a royal assassination, which, funnily enough, is exactly what he eventually received. And there you have it. 8 historical horrors perfectly disguised as bedtime stories. Next time you sing one of these, remember the mass graves, the torture devices, and the fallen cannons. If you enjoyed this list of chilling truths, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most terrifying trivialities. Let us know in the comments which nursery rhyme you think has the darkest backstory. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next list.